Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Spaz Out podcast. I am your handsome, beautiful, good-looking, fucking sexy, talented host.
No, none
Caleb
of those
King.
things. You are Caleb King.
And with me, I have Christopher McCauley,
Hey, what's up? That's me.
and I have Robbie Blend,
Howdy, howdy, howdy. I'm Robbie Bland.
and a special guest, Kevin.
Hello there.
Kevin, yeah, you must be wondering who's Kevin? Why is he on the podcast? He's a smart Mexican. Okay.
Oh, you can hear Robbie cackling in the background. You know what? You go ahead and explain yourself because Caleb and Robbie can't do it themselves.
I don't know what to say about myself, really. I just want to get into the topic real quick. Probably introduce myself that way.
Let's just start with Kevin goes to my high school. He's one of my friends. He's number one in our class. He's a really talented kid.
Shucks.
Like
thanks.
Caleb said, he's a smart Mexican.
All right.
So what are we talking about today, Kevin?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, I'm trying to sound not as nerdy as I possibly can. School, basically, and the school system that we are currently in, and how it's all based on memory and nothing really about critical thinking, in my opinion, anyways.
Yeah, high school. We dabbled into a little bit into high school before on the college on our first episode, flashback to our first episode. But
That's what I normally do.
so we're gonna get straight back into it. And what better of a person than the top one? Rank one,
Right, the top
the
one, rank one.
valedictorian of LaPorte High School, the best of the best, really.
All right, so I think today we're going to be talking about a lot of the inherent problems with the school system, potentially some solutions that we can also provide. So I'm going to go ahead and open us up on this one, just because I know I have thoughts on this topic as well. So
The only college student here.
also the only college student right now, at least. So so far, I say that like I'm still in high school. So I have already gone through the entirety of high school, and it sounds disattached or disingenuous almost, but I feel like I didn't have a large amount of problems with the system per se, but I think there's definitely a system. There's a way to play the high school system so that you do better than the other people. So for example, people who are better at studying, even if they're not naturally more intelligent, or people who, for that matter, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, studying is great, and having great work ethic is also a great thing, but if you don't study and don't have good work ethic, you will not succeed, or at least GPA-wise, in high school, which I think might be a small problem to some people who are inherently smart but don't have the studying or the dedication skills, actually, to get the GPA.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Honestly, my rank is solely based on the fact that I've spent so much of my time on schoolwork and really on less things on other stuff that I want to do, maybe like video edit and record stuff on my own time, and just hanging out with my friends, really. You want to say something?
Do you feel almost trapped? And like I have to be rank one now since you already are rank one. Like what I'm saying, would you go back and do the same thing again?
Well, I would definitely do the same thing again, mostly because, well, in sophomore year, I wasn't really sure. Like, that's when we received our rankings. I wasn't really sure about where I was at. I wasn't expecting to be number one. And when I did receive that information, I definitely took the opportunity and stayed there because it was just a lot of financial help, and it would help me out on filling out scholarships. And I'm thanking myself in advance for just doing all this work and staying up late nights to do all these things. But I learned a lot about work ethic and such things like that. But I really just wish I could have done things like maybe like run cross country all 4 years of my high school career. I only did for the first two. And maybe want to do some more musical, because I was interested in that as well. But really, I don't regret the decisions I made to take this opportunity and become number one. And I just think that the way I got there just, doesn't really portray what it means to be maybe even like ready for life in general. Like, you could be college ready for sure, but you can only go so far with this. I mean, you can get really good with working with, getting your schoolwork done, time management skills, all stuff, all very important things. But school doesn't really emphasize stuff like maybe community service as much as it would for like dedicating time to finishing homework assignments.
Yeah. Another thing that's definitely a big problem with this whole situation is the general consensus is
What
that
whole situation are you referring to?
the whole situation with high school, the problem that most people have with high school, and the number one complaint about high school didn't teach me how to do my taxes, or high school didn't prepare me for real life, because most people think that high school is a waste of time.
It is.
I disagree. I think it is useful, but at the same time, I do fundamentally agree that high school isn't about teaching you, quote, real life skills, which is the point of high school, at least in America right now, is trying to kick people up to higher education, which I don't think is the path for everyone in life, but that's the path that everyone is being pushed towards.
Well,
that's what high school is designed to be, is the precursor for secondary education.
Well, the basis of our American high school was based off of a German form of education, which was proven obsolete in Germany like fucking a long time ago, and they stopped using
You're
it.
making a lot of claims right now. I don't know what you're talking about. What is this German school system that was disproved?
It's shit.
Okay, obviously that's what you would mean, but elaborate. What is the German system, and how did we
Well,
rule
basically,
it to be?
it branched off into the 4 subjects of math, English, science, and fucking history, right? But most of math and science is not I'm not looking for applicable, not like even lower than that, like not even not even relevant to anybody's life. Like
That's true. I mean, to an
Like,
extent.
I mean, based on what I know of the, quote, math and science, I think that at least more so than science, or the sciences, mathematics is more applicable to real life, just based on if you hold like an entry level job without having a degree. Let's say you have a high school GED. If you don't have the competency, I just can't speak. If you don't have the competency to do something like basic algebra 2 work, you're not going to be able to do basic functioning
basic
jobs.
math, yeah. Basic math is I mean, it's just
Algebra 2.
Concepts that you should learn, but shit like trigonometry or pre-cal is fucking worthless, dog.
I mean, I don't really know about it being worthless. A lot of jobs require you to have that understanding of math, especially upper level things like engineering and all that.
Well,
But I
then
guess,
branch that into like a career specific
I guess
thing.
yeah. Something that keeps getting brought up is that the higher education thing is not for everyone. Obviously, calculus is not for everyone, and
I mean, I feel like this system. Oh, it's not. I feel like I did some looking into it, and the system was based off like industrial workers in the industrial age, where we're treated like kind of like a batch of cookies. We're just trying to be sent to the next grade level with a certain amount of information that people think is relevant, and we move on from that. But
thank you, Kevin, for bringing organization to the podcast.
it's hard to like for people to decide what they want to do in their life at such a young age, but just some of this information is like not really relevant. Like mitochondria, it's a powerhouse of the cell. Like how important is that going to be to my life?
Vital.
It's the most important thing you're ever gonna learn.
It's the most important part of your cell, so it's the most important thing you'll ever learn. Right? Right. Okay. Okay. In all seriousness, though, so let's talk more structurally about the problems in high school, as opposed to being general. So let's talk about some of the specific things that are definitely wrong with
All right,
high school.
I want to ask a question
Yes.
relating to that.
Okay.
So if high school is flawed, which it is,
Of course,
IMO.
everything is.
like incredibly flawed, what
Sure.
Can we establish how high
Jesus
school
Christ.
is flawed before we just take that assertion, which is what Chris was just trying to do?
Okay,
Let's
well, I
break
mean, we
down
went
the
over-
problems of high school, then let's
Okay.
move on to whatever point you're trying
because
to make.
it doesn't test practicality, it tests fucking memory is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Okay. So it teaches you how to. Sorry about the dogs. Anyways, we had to what's called memorize things, and their curriculum's based off tests, especially here in Texas, we got standardized tests, and how the subject is revolved around this test, like test taking strategies and stuff like that. And for certain subjects where memorization is important, that
And
relates to it.
In most classes, you aren't taught to learn; you're taught to take a test.
Exactly, and
And
that's
that is the fundamental issue, I would argue, with high school,
Yes.
among other things.
And then the other thing is, since you're taking tests and it's all in segments, you're just memorizing, but you're just memorizing for a limited amount of time. And once you know that information, you just completely forget about it. And that's been the case with me. Honestly, I don't think I'm the smartest kid in my school. Obviously, I feel like there's plenty of other people who are more intelligent than me and more talented. It's just that I just spent so much time studying for an exam. For example, like physics, like there were some things like in the reviews where they were like so similar to the exam. All I had to do was just memorize which formulas to go with which question. That's how I got through physics. I didn't really understand any of the topics or anything, and it's just really hard for people to gauge how well you know a subject without using these standardized tests, which is like so easy for teachers to do because it's how else are you supposed to gauge someone's level of intelligence on a certain subject. But I believe that instead of some exam, like for certain classes, we could probably use more like research-based projects or just projects in general that encourage critical thinking in the classroom.
All right, so I want to branch off, not branch off. This is, I guess, I'm trying to tail on what you just said. So one of the things that I'm really enjoying about my college experience right now is in my classes that pertain more heavily to the major that I'm seeking.
Exactly.
I am working on, as opposed to a monotony or standardized test, which admittedly there are some, there has to be. That's how it goes with basic core level subjects. It's how you weed out people who can't do the basics required. But I'm starting to work on projects. I'm starting to work in groups. I'm starting to perform in case competitions. Those not only test your analytical skills, they not only test your communication skills. It's not a written test. It's something that you have to do. You have to communicate with someone. You have to work with a team. Those kinds of things are cool and fun. When I was in high school, I didn't mind doing projects. And by projects, I don't mean work on a group test or a group quiz. I mean doing something that actually required thinking and interaction and interpersonal skills. I feel like those help people learn. Now, I know that doesn't objectively work for all subjects. What are you going to do for your group project in math? I mean, there are constraints to that, but I like the idea of projects. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the application of your knowledge. I mean, it's one thing knowing how one thing is worked out, whatever, but you got to understand why you're doing it. Because people don't understand why they're doing it, and then what's the point? You're just learning basically useless information because you don't know the implications of it. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's a big problem, especially when it's like the subject you're supposed to be doing is related to your career work, and you wouldn't really know that unless they were like specifying you.
The career work specifically. In my opinion, they're fucking laughing at me because I took their mic instead of using my own mic.
We just traded mics.
Yeah, we just traded mics basically. So, what I'm saying is like the way that we should solve this problem of like monotonous and busy work bullshit is to make high school a more experimental place with careers. So, as you guys said, it's really hard for young people to know what they're gonna do forever, or want to even do like for a limited amount of time. So make high school that place to where they can learn, you know what I'm saying? And make classes career specific and not have a core class of math, history, or science, whatever. Let people branch out and work ethic will come because busy work kills work ethic.
Oh my
You know what
God.
I'm
Okay.
saying?
That's something I've really been wanting to get into here. Chris, please let me speak. Okay.
Chris is
I've
fucking
been trying to talk this whole
tickling
time,
himself
and
over
every
there.
time I open my mouth, someone grabs the mic from me. But I wanted to say I consider myself to be a really smart kid. I'm not number one in my class, and that's because I don't work as hard as Kevin does. Kevin does fucking outstanding work, and he busts his ass every day to have his high scores as he does. And the reason that I don't work as hard as Kevin does is because I don't find any fulfillment in the work that the high school gives me. I am bored to death when I sit down and try to do homework because it's all just busy work for the most part. And, you know, I know the shit already. I know the concepts and I understand them. So when I'm given a 10-page packet of just bullshit, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the parts that I think are going to challenge me in my growth. And then I'm just going to do fuck all with everything else. I normally find myself sitting there calculating how I can still get an A with a few zeros next to my name.
So
you
like,
know?
you want to do film.
I want
right?
to do film. I want to be a filmmaker. That's my passion.
So you joined AV to do film,
Yes,
right?
and
but instead you're stuck doing a shitty news thing for the like because our Clear Falls
First,
they have LPTV, we have Night Vision.
LPTV is not a shitty news thing.
It is.
Shut up. Okay, there's
It
a
is.
Look, I'm gonna be real with you. I
Yeah.
don't like having to do the announcements, but that's the thing that we're able to propel the program with. Because if we don't do those announcements, LPTV is not gonna be able to do anything.
But my point is,
That's our justification
even their
to get to do
career
stuff.
specific electives are not even career specific, and they'll teach you almost jack shit. You gotta
But
basically
AV
teach
is
yourself.
more than doing just the news stuff. We do all kinds of film projects and random funny skits and all kinds of other stuff.
Well,
There's a whole
at least-
variety of stuff that we make.
At least in my school, you have to do that shit on your own, which
Yeah.
I don't need a fucking class to
but that's
do that
not
for. I
that's
just
not
need
how
the
it is
equipment.
in LPTV.
I mean, at least you have access to the
Yeah.
equipment.
If you say, hey, Mr. Z, I have an idea and I want to do it, he'll work it out with you and we'll find a way to make it. Right now we're working on some goofy ass movie that's a parody of Scott Pilgrim where one of our kids is fighting all the other kids in LPTV and like a Fight Club thing, and it's really funny and awesome. And I enjoy making it, and it's like an actual like film thing that we're making right now.
that sounds that sounds cool.
So what's the point behind this one?
Talking to the mic,
So-
goddammit.
So what's the point of the LPTV tangent? Is my question. Like,
Okay,
So
I just said it. I just said it.
Caleb started arguing with me when I was trying to make a point.
No, I just said it because
Okay,
because
okay,
career
okay, let's-
career elective
I was trying to make a point
no
about
career
busy work
specific.
and how
Shut the
boring
fuck
it
up.
is.
And welcome to the
Because
Spaz Out Chimp
Because-
podcast.
Fuck
So-
you, Caleb.
Oh
All
my
right, so
God.
we're bringing this train back on the tracks. So I know that we've hogged the mic from Robbie for this entire podcast. So what I want to do is direct a question at him. So Robbie is a self-claimed smart person, and I agree, Robbie is smart. But you also say that you do not have work ethic, which is fine. So now I'm going to ask you this question: how do you think your let me phrase this another way. Do you think your high school experience would have been better if you had less busy work and it was more challenging, so it was more difficult? So let's say no, let me finish. So let's say as a net result, your grades were worse, but it's not because you had it's not because you had harder tests or something. It's because you had challenging work that was relevant to you and was interesting, but your air quotes, your GPA suffered for that. Would you still think your high school experience was better as a result?
Okay, if my scores were lower because the work was harder, dude, I'd fucking love that. You want to know a school that actually did that for me? The school I was in California for a year. Because in almost every single class, it was a lot more hands-on and about thinking about things than it was about memorizing things. From my English class to my history class to fuck all, even my fucking biology class had a few fun projects in it. And biology is a lot of memorization. The course itself is a lot of memorization. But there was a lot more, crafty stuff where you had to build this and build that. I fucking loved my experience in California because the work there was very challenging. And I complained a lot when I was there because my GPA did suffer. But afterwards, I was like, damn, that was a fucking great school, because moving to fucking LaPorte High School, it was such a culture shock, because at LaPorte, it's all busy work. There's
Yeah.
barely any classes where you get that challenge there.
Well, LaPorte has a lot of dummies in it.
Well, yes, it does, but I'm not here to rant about the student body there. I'm trying to talk about the school system in general.
Okay, again, bringing up my question from before, what would you do to change or redirect the school system?
We're going to get there, but first, I really want to highlight all the problems that we have with it, which I'm still trying to answer Chris's question here.
What, didn't you just answer it?
I was like 3/4 of the way done with my whole spiel here.
Okay, keep going.
And the problem here at LaPorte, and the reason why I'm so bored, is because the curriculum is built for one model, while the student I am is a completely different model than what the curriculum here has outlined for me. I got to do calculus my junior year, which is a senior level class.
Yeah.
I was the only junior in that class because I've been on an advanced math program for my entire school career.
Yeah.
So I finished calculus last year, and instead of letting me move on into another calculus class or sending me to the college to do Cal 2 or anything like that, the school just shrugged their shoulders and said, "Well, we're sorry, we can't do anything for you." And that's a big problem with me, is that there's like a dead end for students who actually are trying to challenge themselves. Because I'm not like actively not trying to challenge myself at school. I'm trying to put myself in classes that challenge me and engage me, but the school has repeatedly several times turned me down. And I've gone on those rants a bunch of times now. You're trying to pass the mic to Kevin. It looks like Kevin wants to say something.
So, like, yeah, I like what you say. Like in school, they really don't give you the opportunities to challenge yourself.
No, they don't.
I only got really challenged in like fucking elementary school with the GT program. The GT program, whenever I was a little kid, they made you solve puzzles and shit like that.
Yeah, I remember GT. That was a lot of fun. That's actually how Caleb and I met, was through the GT program.
That's
at our
not
school.
true. We met in the library. You fuck.
And funnily enough, I did the GT program as well at my elementary
Me and
school.
Robbie met in first grade at the library.
Wait, what elementary school were you guys at?
Carpenter.
Carpenter Elementary. We became friends through the GT program. We may have met in the library, but I still don't remember this.
Yeah, I also did GT. So the thing about, and I know this is a far cry from the discussion about high school because this is literally elementary school, but they had a program called the GT program, the Gifted and Talented program. To be fair, that does put a branding on students, and they think more highly of themselves because they're labeled as gifted and talented from an early age. I can understand that, but
No.
No, that's true. But that's not my point. No.
You just
That's
fucking
my point.
pushed
I just bopped
Robbie's head away.
Robbie. So the point that I'm trying to make
Look,
with
I
it-
never thought special of myself. We got pulled out of class sometimes, and the kids would all look at us like we were retards or something.
Yeah, I
They
know.
don't
because
call
I-
us retards
yeah,
because
I
we're
know.
getting
It's
pulled
not-
out of
it's not-
class.
So it's not the people who are in the program who think more highly of themselves. But the people outside feel like excluded. They feel like, oh, these are the smart
Who
kids.
cares?
I'm just bringing it up. Whatever. So the point that I'm trying to make about GT is the program was designed to make you think in order to challenge your creativity, in order to stimulate you, and in order to give you something better to do than just monotonous basic work, which is what I think is the point and the thing that everyone here mutually agrees. That's something that high school is sorely lacking. Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually the GC program in high school, the TPSP program, where people are encouraged to do projects for advanced measures to get credit for college, and it's research-based projects. You have the whole year to do it, pretty much. We want to say something?
No. Just get your eye closure.
Oh, car, sorry. You have pretty much the whole year to do it, and it's really engaging because you have to go into looking at different perspectives and looking at the different topics that go along with it, like maybe the science, the math, the ethical stuff. Like, it depends on what topic you're doing, of course, but it's just that's how it should be. It encourages you to critically think for yourself, and when you're supposed to do what I did was that I interviewed some of the people that would encourage. Please stop. I see Caleb
For
right
all
now.
those who don't know, Caleb was.
Don't talk about
I
I don't want to talk about it. Okay.
It's a secret. Pay the $5 Spaz Out subscription to find out more.
That's funny.
yeah, we
Yeah,
want
but-
money. Please give us your money.
Yeah, but basically, that's not memory-based stuff. It actually encourages people to do things that would encourage critical thinking. That's pretty much what I wanted to say about that.
Yeah. So we were going to try and do this a long time ago, but I think we've already hit a lot of the points, but I still want to address them individually. So I'm going to name things that we think are problems with the high school system. Tell me if you guys think yay or nay that's a problem.
Didn't we already say all the
no.
problems?
No.
I wanna
I'm
talk about
talking about
solutions.
we will, but we have to, in order to find a solution, we need to systematically figure out what's a problem and how do we solve it. So, step one.
We've said this like
Standardized
4 times.
testing.
Standardized
Caleb King, what's
testing.
your genius solution to standardized testing? Because you do have to test people on their knowledge of a subject before they can also do post-requisite subject matter.
Well, testing would depend on the course, and
Yes.
I would want courses to be more career centered. So, so you'd have to solve the problem of evaluating somebody's skills differently in each course. You see what I'm saying? Like in engineering, if you're trying to get through little units of like learning the basics of engineering, have the test be something like creating a certain way to fucking launch an egg or something like that, and then however well that does, it shows like how practical you're applying the concepts that you're learning in engineering. You see what I'm saying?
I think so. So you're talking about having testing be career oriented because
I'm
the
saying
way
having the whole school be career oriented, which
the whole
includes
school,
test.
the whole school. Okay, that's important. What does that mean? Does that mean education all the way through 12th graders? Does that mean 9 through 12? Because I still think that in high school there definitely needs
upper middle school through high school.
because I think up until you start high school, I actually think that the stuff that you learn in the grades below high school is still vital, and that's still okay being delivered in the English, history, science, the ELA, that format, the standardized format. I think that's okay. But in high school, there should be more career stimulus. Please stop grabbing that. Whatever.
middle school was just repeating the same thing over and over again in
I
each
agree.
course for me
I
for
fucking
the
agree.
longest time.
It was
I-
fucking annoying.
In English, we did the plot diagram every single year, and we just read a slightly more advanced book. And in
It's fucking annoying.
in science, we did cell structures, the same thing every year. Fucking density is mass divided by volume. The only actual subjects that progressed in any way in middle school for me were history and mathematics. But again, that's all middle school stuff. Let's switch back to high school. Chris, you want to finish what you were saying? I wanted to interject because I disagree that most of that was vital.
Yeah, I think middle school is a bunch of bullshit too.
I mean, maybe it's just my unique experience because when I was in middle school, I didn't have a major problem. Okay, actually, let me throw this in there because this is extremely important to what I'm talking about. The reason why I don't have negative feelings about middle school is because of my 8th grade year. And do you want to know why? Because I had a program in my junior high that allowed me to take an extracurricular course on top of what I was already taking. So instead of having a block period, which is 1.5 class periods, they cut off the block from both ends of the period and made that into one unique class that you could pick, and that class changed every grading period. So I got to do fencing, I got to do musical theater, I got to do forensic
damn, that's
science,
so fun.
stuff like that. So it was challenging and it was different. It wasn't a basic curricular course, and there wasn't testing in that course, and we weren't graded in that course. Most importantly, it was about finding a class that most suited your interests, your likes, your needs, and your desires, and you could do that to better yourself and to actually have a better educational experience, which is great. That's why I enjoyed it so much. Caleb?
Well, I wish
Incredible.
Yeah, that is incredible. So
Kevin, in case you didn't hear, Kevin shouted, "That's fucking incredible!"
So-
I loved middle school. I liked middle
I-
school. The thing I liked about middle school was theater arts and the fact that every morning the middle school would bus me to the high school to take geometry. Since again, I was on an advanced math course, and the school would actually, try to accommodate that instead of saying, "Sorry, fuck you, take an off period. You don't want to learn anyways. You're too smart."
So what Chris was saying, I had a similar type program. I went to the WAVE program, and his actual director came to my school and then learned from the fucking my WAVE program. But basically, the WAVE program killed my work ethic because it was just too much fucking work. Like every day I'd have to come home, and it was like fucking 5-6 hours of fucking homework. When I just spent 7.5 hours at a school day, it was more than a full-time job. It was fucking ridiculous. But they rewarded us with mini courses, and mini courses are like what Chris was saying, like fencing and if you had the money, scuba diving and shit like that. And it was like career dabbling basically, which is fucking cool. And I think that's exactly what high school should be consisted of.
Yeah, because I mean, when you talk about what Robbie and Caleb talked about this a lot, is the difficulty of the workload. And honestly, that's a challenging part of high school for me. I mean, I've taken both college courses and high school classes, and I specifically go to the actual college and go with the professors and do things there. And I find that much more insightful. Of course, it's college and it's a lot better than high school, but the difficulty of high school for me was mostly the workload. And it's not mostly based on the subject itself, on like whether I know it or not. It's just like they think that more is good, but really like less is more, because
Less is more, and that's again
sorry about that.
It's okay, I was interrupting you.
The number one education country, or number one country leading in education, I think, is Sweden, and they don't really have homework, and they don't have multiple choice tests. They work on like answering questions based off like critical thinking. I know I say that word all the time, but it's
Critical thinking is the most vital thing to have as a person, to be able to think critically, because that goes to literally everything we've talked about in this podcast so far is thinking critically, evaluating information for yourself, and being an individual and learning for yourself.
And then you learn about yourself a lot. You learn about what's the best way you learn, and how you apply the information, how you receive information, and that's all very important. And another important thing I believe is just the communication between people and how sorry.
It's okay.
Chipman is now doing the brain pop sound.
How communication between people is important, because you get insight on different perspectives that you didn't know previously. you get information on like maybe for like history class, if you had to take something like that's like another thing is like current events, like how you can apply that to your information to current events.
Oh God,
history.
that's so important to be able to learn a history course and to be able to understand how that affects you today and the
Yes.
relevance that history has. I've always had to do that on my own
Exactly.
to
I
understand
mean,
how history. That's why I love history, because I can see the connections between things that happened then and things that happen now. But that's not something that you're actually taught in the class. It's just George Washington crossed the Delaware. Now memorize that for the test next week.
yeah, and then what's called? Sorry.
No, it's good. You're good.
Pretty much, when you in history class, you are supposed to be taught like certain dates and stuff like that. It's not really.
The numbers don't matter.
They don't matter. You just know they happen and like how that relates to your current time. And what's it called? What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something like really important. Just like the application of the information. Just God.
I'll try and talk about something related, so maybe it'll come back to you. So on the vein of history classes and things like that, so those classes are essentially designed because of standardized testing, and it's not the other way around. I don't know what I just saw, but that was disgusting. Anyways, those classes are designed. Those.
Okay, so here's. So we're sidetracking again. Shut up! So we're sidetracking again, but here's what's going on. While Chris, Kevin, and I are all talking and having this discussion, Caleb is pretending to jerk himself off in front of everyone. And so while Chris was talking right there, Kevin got bored and pretended to be blowing Caleb. And that completely made Chris lose track. And because of that, Caleb's like, we gotta edit that out now because no one knows what's happening. So
Okay.
So now let's get back on topic. Fuck you! Oh no!
So what I just did was I created So what I just did. So what I just did was create.
Stop chimping out, and you don't have to edit.
So what I just did was I just created some static, but they just yelled anyways, so the whole joke was removed. Back on track. So I feel like classes like history are actually dedicated directly to standardized testing and not the other way around. So in history, they teach you dates, times, when events happen, and importantly, what order they happened in. Those are like the same 4 core things that they test on every single history test and every single history class ever. When did this happen? Who did they do it? Why did they do it? Is what they try and push you on in some AP courses. But for example, cringy as this may be, it doesn't matter. So think about a series online like, say, Crash Course U.S. History, Crash Course World History. So they will tell you and teach you the information, but they try and talk about the concepts, the reasons behind it, the ways that you can apply it to your life.
Concepts are so important.
Not only is that kind of learning more fun, but it's also more applicable to real life, especially in a course like history. You're never going to get a job unless you're the curator of the Museum of Natural History. Exactly what date did George Washington cross the Delaware? That's literally unapplicable to real life.
I never care about memorizing the dates. I don't memorize any of the dates. Maybe I'll do it for a test if I think it's really important and I need to score high on that test. But if I miss something, if I miss a date on a test, I'm like, boo fucking who? I don't care. I still know what happened. I know about what time it happened, and I know when it places in the timeline.
You're such a rebel.
I don't think. Shut the fuck up, Caleb. I don't think the years matter that much. Obviously, you need to have a concept of about when it happened, but the exact year doesn't fucking matter in the context of what happened and what impact it has on us today.
We've talked about like generalizations of high school for 33 minutes. Let's talk about the solutions and wrap it up so we can get into our next topic because
we're not done yet, Caleb. Stop
Jesus
trying to push us
fucking
to
Christ.
the end.
It's like 30-something minutes we've been talking about.
Okay.
Oh, memorizing is bad.
That's not
Yeah,
bad.
we know. We just said it.
Continue. All right.
Tell you about what? What are you going to say? What are you going to say right now? What are you going to say?
Right now. So
Say it.
I was going to talk about some solutions.
Finally. That's what I wanted. And
I was going to get into some, but then you guys started behaving
'cause
like chimpanzees.
No, Robbie's like, no, we're still going. And you want to talk about solutions, right?
Yeah, but that's still part of the
Right.
conversation. Directly part of the conversation. So, Robbie.
Quitting the Spaz Out podcast.
Oh, my. Okay, so we're having some spaz out drama at the moment. But what I want to talk about, for especially continuing this topic, so we already talked about standardized testing. We already talked about the importance of critical thinking, the monotony of high school. I brought this up at the beginning, and we didn't talk about it that much. I've brought it up in passing, but I also think it's very important. High school is designed in order to prepare people for college. That's what they say it's like made to do. But by pushing everyone along the same path towards college, some people either, this is unfortunate and sad, and I feel like an asshole for saying this, but some people don't have the capacity to go to higher education, but more importantly, the desire to go to higher education. They don't want to spend another 6 years of their life in school. They want to get a job. They want to work. They want to participate as an adult in, air quotes, real life.
Now, here's something funny about the fact that they try to push you towards college, right? So again, like I mentioned earlier, I've been on an advanced curriculum for a while now. But this year, my senior year, I signed up for the dual enrollment program, which is the program that takes you from high school and puts you in a college-level course to get credits for both high school and college. So I got 1 semester of dual enrollment, and then they kicked me out of dual enrollment. And do you know why they did that?
Why?
They kicked me out of the dual enrollment program because I was already too advanced for the dual enrollment program. That the courses that I wanted to take, I couldn't take there because the high school only pays for certain classes that I've already passed in high school. Like they were trying to push me into college level beginners English and college algebra. I just did calculus and I did AP English already, so I don't need the beginner level college. I already got credit for that in AP classes. And so the next step up from dual enrollment is the ACE program, which is where they actually put you on the main college campus and that you get 4 hours at college every day. That's what Kevin is in. But you see, I also wasn't able to take that because I wasn't grandfathered into it already. Because you can't sign up for it the last semester of senior year. They don't let that happen. And so because I was on that advanced course, I was taking calculus junior year, I was not able to sign up for ACE junior year. So because I wasn't able to be in ACE, I wasn't even able to take ACE senior year. And because of that, I got screwed over, and they put me in 2 off periods and said, fuck you. It makes me so angry that that's the system that we live in high school, that there's no actual desire to meet my needs as a student. It's just trying to push me along to graduation and saying, fuck you.
So what are some solutions?
Sorry.
You've been on and on and on about our solutions, so what's your idea?
I've said it so many goddamn times. Make it to make it.
Clip that right there.
Make it more career centralized. Every fucking course needs to be relevant to a career choice, because that's all we're fucking here for in America.
That is radical. You have a radical
How
solution.
is that radical? Everybody's place in America is to do a job and contribute to society somehow. So why is it so radical that every class needs to be centralized around a career?
Because every class being centralized around a carear is shoehorning people into jobs.
What else are they gonna do?
If they've spent their entire...
Be homeless?
So let's say that someone spends 4 years trying to be an engineer. They hate math. All they've done is engineer.
Then don't be an engineer.
So what do? Take 4 more years of high school? That turns high school into college.
No, I'm saying high school should be the experimental stage. People go into college and then choose a major. We're like, wow, this fucking major sucks.
Okay,
and then
but
they
if
change
someone-
their major,
so
and they have to
someone-
pay a bunch of fucking more money to change their major.
Okay, so
figure
here's
out
the
what
thing.
you want to do in high school.
Here's the thing. In high school right now, when you first enter freshman year, you have to take a what is it? It's not an elective, but it's like the career path thing. Kevin, do you know what it's called? You had to take your endorsement. Your endorsement. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
But that still does fuck all.
It is fuck all, but that is them trying to kind of shoehorn you into that career path there.
Shoehorn. What is that word? Shoehorn. I can guess contextually, but
Shoehorn means to like forcibly put someone somewhere else.
in a shoe.
I'm done talking.
Robbie is upset. So
Why is
here's
Robbie
why,
upset?
Here's why I think
No,
Caleb's
let Robbie finish
here's
his
why I
thing.
think your solution is a little bit radical, because think about it like my example still stands. If someone spends all their time devoted to, let's say, math, and they don't do well in the subject at the end of the day and they're not cut out for it, what do? Do they go back to school, or do they flounder around in life wasting high school entirely?
Okay, let me respond, right? So the reason, because the same argument can be for college. So high school is where you need to figure that out. If you're going to waste 4 years of your high school doing something that you're not good at, that's pretty fucking stupid. And Darwinism will take care of that.
So here's the thing with endorsements. The point I was trying to make before Caleb interrupted me. Endorsements are essentially career tester light. They put you in your core classes, and then they put you in the side on your elective courses, which are supposed to be tied to your endorsement, which is supposed to be tied to your career. Okay, well, here's the thing about the endorsements in high school. The program fucking sucks because when you sign up for an endorsement and you don't like it, it's a whole bunch of paperwork and counselors, this and that and the other, to get into another endorsement, which is another different career path. But then you got to make up the credits that you missed already for your damn endorsement. So here's what happened with me. Since I did freshman year in California and I moved to LaPorte sophomore year, I missed a whole year of an endorsement there. So I had to take 2 endorsement classes on top of my already sophomore classes and was already behind. So it's a good thing that in California I was on that advanced program where I was a few credits ahead that I could miss and retake those fucking endorsement classes that were just bullshit. They were bullshit classes.
Yeah, to back that up, the career centralized electives are still like do fuck all because they're still high school and dumbed down. You see what I'm saying? It's
So here's
the point I'm trying to make is that if you sign up for one of these endorsements, these career paths, and then you decide you don't like it, like you're saying, it's supposed to be about testing your feet in the water or whatever.
Yeah.
If you decide you don't like it, it's a fucking headache to try to fix it and get on a new one, because then they're gonna make you retake what you've already missed. Because you can't do
that's
freshman level career whatever, and then the next year try to switch back into freshman for a different career.
So
they're gonna force you down the damn assembly line.
Yeah,
what's gonna happen.
So on the same vein of what you're talking about, so my proposition to actually have a real solution is the fact that we should revamp this endorsement program that Robbie's talking about. So we should make it to where you're not punished for switching endorsements. You're not punished for wanting to try something
I never said you
different.
should be punished.
I know, but that's what Robbie talked about. He was essentially, I know this isn't specifically him, but students are in essence punished for making a decision to do something else because they changed their mind.
Your mic is to the side of your face right now.
It doesn't matter. So when people are punished for making a decision to change their career path, it dissuades change. It dissuades people from changing. That's the way that system is. So instead, what I suggest is to make something like the endorsement program regular for most high schools. So you should have classes and you should have paths to help people decide what career they're on, no question. But my ways to make that better: don't punish someone for trying to change their career path, as in what basically happened in Robbie's case. And you don't have to make every class dedicated to the endorsement, but you can use that as the primary focus for the schooling. So I'm not suggesting every class be dedicated to your career, which is what you were suggesting.
That's exactly what I'm suggesting.
I'm saying that there still should be some classes that are core and fundamental, because I fundamentally agree. There's knowledge that people need to know if they're going to get an entry-level job somewhere. Even if it's named Algebra 2, you still need to know some of that stuff.
You don't need to know Algebra 2 to get an entry-level job.
In some places you do. If you want to have a non-McDonald's salary, then you do. You need a high school GED to get jobs.
If you're gonna work at hourly wage, then you don't need algebra.
I know if you're gonna work at hourly wage, but most people don't want to. Most people don't want to work for hourly wages for the rest of their lives. They want to at least be able to make half of six figures.
But that is an entry level job mostly. Is hourly wages.
Half of six figures? No, it's not.
So let me rephrase the argument here. Chris is talking about going beyond entry level jobs. Caleb, you're talking about being trapped in entry level jobs.
Entry-level jobs in careers that aren't minimum wage. A career. You don't have a career by working a register. That's not really a career.
So if you don't want to do Algebra 2 and you decide, you know what, I'm going to fuck Algebra 2, I'm going to just go fucking work at McDonald's, there's no way to move up out of McDonald's. What Chris is implying here is that knowing Algebra 2 gives you a chance to progress and move up in the system.
See, I feel like something that I haven't talked about forever. Anyways, I feel like some of the core classes are important. I would say like algebra, history, and English could be some of the core classes you have. And then I feel like some others should be electives. And then I feel like what Chris did, in his school for 8th grade, like the thing changing for every grading period, to like test the waters in certain things, get to know all the different career paths that you can possibly take. And also have one class maybe for like understanding your current career, like maybe like Avid, where you do research on your own career and see if you like it or not. And maybe have like a different research on like different kind of careers you want to do, like where you end up, salary and stuff like that. And then after that you can like start focusing, and that's what we do for ACE program. You kind of first semester you get general, and then you go specific with what you want to do in your life after second semester, and then it moves up after senior year. And I feel like that's how it should be in high school, where you're testing the waters, and you kind of freshman year being like general, very general, where you kind of understand the basic of like your career, college, and stuff like that, and then you can get more oriented towards a certain career as you progress through as you're like progress through high school career.
Okay, so again, Chris, maybe I ain't making myself clear, but whenever I said every class should be centered around a career, the basics should be included in middle school. Like so middle school should extend to probably 4 years, so you can learn everything that you need to know to like basic shit to get an entry level job, right? Because around like sophomore year, freshman year, well, not freshman year, around like sophomore year is probably whenever you're gonna get a job anyway in real life. You know what I'm saying? So learn all the basic shit, make middle school like I guess 4 years, restructure middle school a little bit to be less standardized, right? And then my concept for a career specific high school is having every class, swayed to some sort of career, but not having because the school would be open. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be 4 years. It could be fucking 6 or 8 years, depending on what you want to do. So you experiment with your careers, yeah. And you make decisions, and you're not punished because it's sort of an open system. So it's your choices what you want to do. All 4 years of my high school are forced into core classes I probably don't need, and I can't stand like taking a regular English class or something like that because I just feel so fucking stupid. But I also can't stand being in an AP level course because it's just a bunch of fucking busy work. You see what I'm saying? So, but I would rather take a bunch of classes on film or comedy or performances and stuff like that and get better at what I want to do for the rest of my life, but those tools aren't available to me. Someone that wants to be an engineer should have a bunch of different classes and specialized teachers on engineer, and that would also create more jobs because more people would want to be specialized teachers, and you'd have to have more of them, and then you wouldn't have to just have a bunch of fucking general English, math, a bunch of bullshit like that.
Yeah.
And they would get paid more and be sort of like professors, and that way college doesn't have to be some trap that everybody has to tell their kids like you have to go to college, you have to go to college, you have to go to college. You can learn everything. You can learn the basics of everything in high school, and if you want to do your own thing, then go out of high school and do your own thing. But if you want to pay the money and get more advanced, and you feel like you want it, like you want to get more specialized in your career, then you can go to college and spend that money. You see what I'm saying? But I can't go. Most people can't go out of high school, and I mean, most people aren't as talented as me, but most people can't go out of high school and just go straight into whatever they want to do. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't have those tools to learn.
Yeah, and so one thing I wanted to bring up was how Caleb brought up core classes, like for English, for example. I agree. It doesn't have to be like 4 years of English. I feel like the core classes should like develop into different things, like maybe economics, where you can understand how money works, how to save money. That's one of the things I learned in accounting for the college class. Is just how to save your money, how to utilize it properly, and pretty much just to avoid getting into debt and stuff like that. Like people, that's an issue in the future when you're outside of high school. You don't know how to manage your money, and you don't know how to maybe interview for a job or things like that, like some things like paying for taxes or something like that. I know you're making fun of that earlier, but it's true. Like some of these things are vital things, like household things, like maybe like how to fix certain things. Like, so these core classes could change as you progress, that, relates to what you should be like focusing on in your life. Like maybe in your freshman year, you don't have to worry too much about a profession. You can worry more about like how English and history stuff works, and they can go more into like government and politics and economics as you progress to your your high school career.
Now let me tell you something about what happened in California. Is freshman year you had to take a health class, and in that health class it wasn't just about general like health stuff. There was also like career-based stuff in that class where there was a whole unit where we learned how to take an interview and how to what to say during an interview and how to answer certain questions. Like where do you see yourself in 10 years? What are your strengths and weaknesses? We learned how to answer those kind of questions efficiently. I can't praise the California education that I had enough, at least in freshman year. I have a few friends who had to go to that school later down the system, and it got worse as time went on. But that freshman year was a great year because the curriculum was designed pretty efficiently to challenge students as well as teach them things and get them to think critically and learn. And that's a thing in hindsight, especially when you compare it to what happened later. I'm kind of rambling now. I just wanted to throw that in there.
So we officially have gone on for a long time about high school. So I think here's what we're going to do.
Closing statements.
We're going to close it around. Every person is going to summatively say what they want to say, and then we can officially put this one to rest. Take it away, Mr. Bland.
I think high school just really needs to be needs-based about the individual, and it needs to challenge people to think critically. It needs to be less about busy work and memorize this, memorize that, standardized testing. We all agree on that already. In my very certain circumstances, I've always just been frustrated because I don't feel that the work I have to do is ever fulfilling. I don't feel like I'm learning anything. I feel like I'm just moving from test to test, and I'm bored to death. And that's the way it's been in high school since sophomore year. So I think really high school needs to be about critical thinking, about learning the material and how it affects you today and why it's important today. Because that's something that we all agree on. Why do I need this in life? We even had an argument about that. High school should teach you why you need it, not just tell you, hey, you need to know this. And so I think I can end on that, and people can build off of that.
And I'd like to say I would want a lot more, if not all courses, to be swayed in some way of a career and to guide individuals into their place in society and to how they're going to provide for themselves and contribute to the community, which is how you build a fucking community and country altogether.
So one thing here, I'm not giving you a counter argument. I'm playing devil's advocate. So one of the reasons I think that system hasn't been implemented in our country right now as a whole is because of the college system. Because what you're implying right now sounds a heck of a lot like college, but you don't have to pay to get in.
Well, you have to pay for high school.
But
taxes.
I know high school is taxes, but that's the problem. That's what I'm saying is high school is. People call it free. It's not free. It's your taxes. Taxes pay for high schools.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is what you're proposing sounds a lot of like what goes on in college. And at the end of the day, a school or a college is a business. At the end of the day, they're trying to make money.
Yes.
So that is why I think that's one of the barriers to entry, but let's not get sidetracked on that. So in closing, I mostly agree with everything that has been said. Specifically with what Robbie said, I can recognize the frustrations with the seeming monotony of the system and, for lack of a better word, the uselessness of some of the things that you have to do in high school. I definitely think there are improvements, but I'm not ignorant enough to say that we have perfect solutions because I know high school is a nuanced issue and I know I'm not an educator. But from the perspective of someone who's been through the system, and I'd like to say as someone
Talk into your microphone.
And as I'd like to say, someone who has, I think, an informed opinion because I'm thinking critically about this, there are inherent flaws just based on how the system is designed, and we can definitely do better. Kevin?
Well, yeah.
I pretty much agree with what everyone's been saying, like repeating what you said, but I do. And I just feel like the reason the school system hasn't changed with our ever-changing society as it's progressing with technology and stuff like that is because that the administrators or whatever that implement and enforce these school system are just too afraid to take a chance and see new solutions to, or see different avenues, try different things with the school system. Of course, it's like difficult to grade maybe critical thinking, like how creative is your solution compared to others maybe, but
the thing with
important
those administrators also is that most of them are old, out of touch, and they don't really know what the kids need or want nowadays.
I think
they've been in the system their whole life, and they don't talk to the students. They don't talk to us about what we want. They just assume that they already know better and that they know how education works, even with today's changing society.
Yes, and communication between an adult and a student is very important, and just to understand how things function and how kids like learn these days. learning now is different than, well, like for on average, more than it was before. I mean, different from what it was before. Like people use the technology that was not present before, like cell phones and computers, and you just utilize that more in your curriculum in order to create more of a positive outcome and results in terms of education. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that.
All right, you heard it here, folks. We just solved high school. Forever.
High school is now solved forever, right, Robbie?
No, it's not.
We can't fix it, but thank you for tuning in.
But I can. Thank you
Caleb.
for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to the Spaz Out podcast. I'm your host, Caleb King. I was joined here by Chris McCauley, Robbie Bland, and Kevin. Kevin hasta luego.
Hasta la
and-
vista.
Goodbye, and have a great...
We love you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks again, Kevin, for joining us on the show today. We all love you, Kevin.
Can we get Kevin on record saying fuck school?
Hi.
So we're not going to get that, but
You heard it here.
I'm echoing what everyone else said. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us on the Spaz Out podcast today. I appreciate the company and the insight as well.
Thank you. It was honestly an honor to be on here. I really appreciate y'all's consideration of even having me on here.
Yeah, I know.
Stop sucking Caleb's dick, Kevin.
I'm sorry, it's just a habit of mine.
I think that's all that we need.
All right, guys. Later. Forever.